Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Loads of updates coming out around the Call of Duty world today. Ranked play is arriving in just a couple of days' time. A seriously upgraded format. Apparently, the YouTube return might be off the table for now. We'll see in a second. But also, OpTic's perspective. Huke was absolutely frying on stream last night. Dashy reckons that he was using a wrong aim assist setting at the mate that was setting him back quite significantly. That might explain a fair bit. Might upgrade OpTic significantly as well, with Ghosty on the roster going into their own Major 3 qualifiers. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it then. Here we go. Ranked play arrives in a couple of days' time, and it actually looks, can you believe it, quite good, or at least, okay, right? We've got skill divisions, so this is actual proper SR, right? So we're not doing just stupid stuff that, get put into masters that is pretty much irrelevant. If you do better, you go up SR. If you do worse, you lose SR, all this stuff. Everyone starts in bronze, have to make your way up throughout the season, so 0 to 899 SR is bronze. You've got to work your way up to iridescent, and then top 250, you're talking 10,000 plus SR to be in the top 250 in the world. Kind of funny to me, I thought, the fact that the images they used here were these snakes. Just, do they know, right? They're like, Cellium's the man, or maybe not Cellium anymore, as we talked about last night, or Drazah, or whoever is the king cobra of the CDL, but we've seen a lot of snakes lately, so kind of funny that they would use those as the logos for everything. Big positive change as well. I'm sure a lot of you guys will be happy to hear that there's SR forgiveness. If a player on your team disconnects or quits, you don't lose SR for that game. If you still win 3v4, you still gain SR actually, but if you lose, it doesn't deduct you any SR. So that's a big W, I think, to be honest. And even as iLLeY Guerrillas say here, no SR penalty if a teammate quits. Give this ranked player 10 out of 10 so far. So we'll see. There's definitely some positive signs on this one. Obviously, it's kind of traditional in some aspects. Also, there's this, which I think is fantastic. We've wanted this for some time. And of course, in previous years, there's been, or Vanguard, for example, there's been the top 250 leaderboard, but you can't see this in the same way. This is obviously a mock-up. But for example here, the accounts that are attached to the pro player accounts, you can see a Seam on the Ravens, his skill rating, and all the other players theoretically on this list. Toasted Bruins, absolutely, taking these guys for a ride. But on the right-hand side, you can see, for example, right, you've got Drazah here. So, sorry if that wasn't fully on screen, but you guys can see it now. So, effectively, the idea would be you can go through the top 250 and see where the pros are and get kind of, some sort of player card here for that player on which team they play for, what role they're in, this type of stuff. So, honestly, really cool if they can execute this in the game. Obviously, Treyarch are the ones that actually do this, not Infinity Ward. They put the ranked plays in. So, they've been killing it. I saw Lawrence Metten was talking about some of the upgrades they've made. So, really cool to see, and hopefully it works out. In addition to the fact that, thankfully, the competitive settings are being updated for going forward. So, of course, a lot of this stuff is GA'd, right? The cast of the M4, the STB, like the pros don't use these weapons, but in ranked, often you've got the issue where, the meta that's used in ranked isn't the same as the pros are playing, so they're adding this stuff to the competitive settings restrictions, so they'll be just in time for ranked play. So, another Treyarch dub. Hopefully this is executed well when it launches in a couple of days' time. Confirmation then from the Boston side that the Breakfast of Champions is officially here. Beans on toasted. I mean, this video was pretty disgusting, to be honest. I know from a lot of Americans' perspectives, but it is beautiful from a Brit's perspective, right? Beans on toast is bad. Doesn't get any better than this. So anyway, Beans is officially in the starting roster now. Methods is gone. Of course, he retired, and Beans is now in. Interesting change. I think a kind of inevitable change. If you'd have asked me going into the season which changes are the most likely, I would have probably said, Vegas making a change to their SMG line, and then, I don't know, maybe I'd have said OpTic probably will blow it up at some point, but I wouldn't know what they'd have done. Definitely wouldn't have predicted what OpTic have done over the last few months. But the other one that I would have probably said is maybe Methods for Beans. Felt like at some point they were going to move that direction, especially because Beans is outside of, we've got Afro, we've got Hydra, these top European talents that have done well over the last few years. Beans has kind of been considered the next up in that category for a little bit of time, and given the fact that you've got Zed over here, of course, English, well, Zed's a coach of the team, but former English player, of course, and you got Dens as well, general manager, Australian, they're going to be pretty keen to get some of the talent from lesser known regions, let's just say, or lesser populated regions in terms of CDL players into the league. So felt like at some point Beans was going to get his chance. He also snipes as well, which I think is quite a big deal because I think Vivid has been their sniper really, and you don't really want to take your SMG off a sniper. You want them to be up first and being impactful. So I don't know. Beans, this guy shoots incredibly straight. They've been calling him the Fat Dashy, or the EU Dashy, and maybe in a couple of years it's going to be Dashy that's going to be called the Canadian Beans. I don't know if Beans absolutely comes to and fry. It's time to win some champions championships, he says, many questions though about this team for me because, yes, their ice factor was their real issue. They've got the firepower. Nero's great. Vivid, I think, is great as well. Sometimes they go a bit too rogue. Awakening's numbers this season are actually crazy. The guy's been slaying super hard. And okay, we know that Methods might not be the iciest player in history, but it's also the entire team here that, you know, they were always going to choke in game 5s, that type of stuff. Now, also, the leadership element is a little bit of a question mark just because, you know, where's the communication coming from, right? Where's the leadership that's stepping up in a crucial moment? Not necessarily sure they always had that before, but now there's some questions still there, right? Is this team just all gunny, no brain? Like, I don't know. That's a question that we'll have to see. So it's a team that definitely can bowl teams over with raw talent and ability on their day. Like, I'm sure they're going to have some stonking respawn performances, this team, because when they're all going off, like, they're going to put teams in the blender. But, you know, can they actually deliver? Can they fix their ice issue? There's some issues that they've got to solve, I think, on this team. We'll see if they can achieve that, but definitely excited for this move nonetheless. And of course, what this does mean, right, with Beans officially now in the Boston starting team, is that iLLeY isn't going to be going to Boston. So he's kind of running out of options right now. Maybe he's just going to sit on the bench for a time on the OpTic side. But yesterday was the first day that Dan Ghosty was at the headquarters. So they're not at the headquarters anymore. They play from the Envy HQ, which I guess they weren't even really using much. But yeah, Ghosty was playing on an actual PC with some frames. I think the PC he's been playing on before was like 90 frames or something. He's now on like 200 plus frames. Shotzzy was definitely caught lacking here. We'll see in more detail in a second. But I definitely wanted to mention this from Dashy on the Huke situation. So we saw at the major, I think I even mentioned it in a video. Like, as Huke got his aim assist on, is this guy shooting straight? Because some of the windies I was seeing coming out of Huke at the major were certainly surprising. For a guy that can shoot incredibly straight and has a really good shot, he was missing some serious shots at the major, especially when this game is so easy to shoot in, right? Like, if you're seeing Huke hit some windies like he's been JoeDeceives, then, you know, you've got to think something's happening there, just because this game is not exactly difficult to shoot straight. Now, last night, this was the discussion, and I'll share the clip that I found of this in a second, that Huke was accidentally running gyro aim settings on his controller. So I think what this is these new controllers, you can move them like, okay, let's say you're sitting there, you're playing, you're moving the thumbsticks or whatever. If you move your hand slightly up and down, the controller knows what kind of pitch it's tilted at, like what angle of attack it's looking forwards, I suppose. So, you know, you can actually have that related to your aim in game. Don't know why you'd want to do this. I suppose it's for various different games. Certainly you wouldn't want it in Call of Duty. But this is the thing with these PCs, right? These guys rock up to their PCs. If the settings reset or something and the gyro aim is accidentally on, and I think Dashy's been going through all his settings to ensure they're actually correct, because nowadays there's so many bloody settings in these games, it's so difficult to figure out what is on and what is not. But he reckons that Huke was accidentally running this, where marginal movements he'd make with his hands, I guess, under the table while he's playing the game, like just slightly up, slightly down, would be affecting his aim, right? Not just his inputs from the thumbstick, but also from the movement of the actual device itself. So this does explain quite a lot, I think, as to why we'd see some gunfights Huke was in. It's like, how did he miss those shots? Doesn't make sense for a guy of Huke's caliber in a game as easy to shoot in as these modern Call of Duties are. So this is what Dashy has to say on the matter.
Oh my god,
Kyler is godlike.
Bro, what the?
My boy was on. My boy had Taziki aim. My boy actually, who had my boy in Taziki aim?
He's doing nothing right now.
Yo, jump the corner, bro. Bro, this guy's crack aiming his scar, dude. Bro, there's only like certain people who could do like this, bro.
Nah,
Yo, wait, hey.
Brucey does that. Brucey does that.
Wait, what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Cracking the star. Like,
Oh yeah. I started that.
So it's pretty funny. He said that, you know, Huke had the tzatziki aim or whatever, right? And said that he had these gyro options on. So this is the setting here on the controller advanced. You've got this gyro behavior, gravity vector. Like, I mean, man, some of these settings just crack me up, even the names they call them. But this is what Dashy's getting at. That, you know, the your axis of the gyro aim is the controller's your axis. Whatever, that's the gravity vector. But apparently this was on Huke's controller during the event. And honestly, if Huke was dropping a 0.8 with this on, like, that's got to be, given the gyro tax, that's got to be like a 1.2. Like, the guy must have been frying. And we kind of saw that in action last night in 8. So, yeah, what do you guys think about this? Now, of course, it doesn't excuse some of the poor decision-making, let's say, that Huke made at times, but it does give some credence to the idea that Huke is actually probably better, at least in terms of raw ability, than he's been showing lately. Now, whether that's enough to maintain his spot for the rest of the year and certainly going into next year with other options, let's say, on the table, that's another question. But I do think that, you know, even Aches was saying on the flank last night, he reckons they will make another change this year, and it'll be for Huke, right? They'll swap Huke out for someone else. And I would have bought into that kind of before I found out about this. I want to give it another go now, right? Because Huke, the way he played in the Major, if he plays again like that at Major 3, I do think there are some questions there about him maintaining his spot. But if he plays like he did in 8s last night, presumably without the gyro issue that he has seemingly solved since the Major, then we might be having a different discussion here. I mean, Huke was absolutely out of control yesterday. There was a ridiculous 8 series, actually, because the only AR player in the entire lobby was Drazah on Huke's team. The other team was Pred, Asim, Envoy, and Prolute, and then Drazah's team was TJ, Exceed, and Huke. I mean, look at Huke go here. He runs out of bullets here, goes in for the knife on Asim, and just completely world stars him. Shotzzy just loses his mind.
That's P4. That's him. That's him, dog. That's him. Someone get him.
Jake, one shot.
I got you. I got you.
Ball weak. Ball weak.
Heard that. Heard that. Bobby, main.
Hey, that's.
No. Oh, over here. Oh, I'm stunned.
I can hold it.
This guy's turn, bro.
Yo, one guy's going to main.
Look right.
I got your main, dog.
Hey, my man. Shoot him right.
I see main. Oh my god, hit him with the slide. One more. Charlie.
He's come back.
Pantry.
Go for me.
I got pantry.
Oh my god.
Probably side door.
Oh,
Side door right now. Come on. I'm out of ammo, homie. Help me.
What's that?
So that's the thing now with this OpTic team, right? If Huke is able to play at a better level than he was before, because, I mean, look, this gyro aim thing must have been costing him some gunfights, because I can't lie. I mean, I was watching the gameplay, I was thinking, okay, how did he miss those shots? What's been happening? Like, where's Huke gone? Where's this Huke that we knew that had this ridiculous shot? And also, he was a Halo player, right? I mean, Halo players have always shot straight historically. Like, how's he missing these shots? Makes sense, I think, that maybe there was something going on with this gyro aim being enabled or whatever. I guess since that's now been solved, they reckon it's going to push them in the right direction. So if Huke is dropping more numbers, I mean, that might give him an extra, you know, what, 3, 4, 5 kills a map or something, like, at least, right? I mean, he's probably losing that many gunfights based on the gyro aim issue. So, you know, that's going to make a big difference. And then, of course, Ghosty's coming in over iLLeY, theoretically more firepower as well. Like, you know, in a way, OpTic are kind of like a Pack-a-Punched version of Boston, where they might be, again, all aim or, you know, all gunny, no brain. But, you know, maybe they could do that at an even better level than Boston can. Maybe they do have a brain in there, right? Because maybe Ghosty can take over some of that, or Dashy can take over some of the leadership roles that even Shotzzy was apparently employing over the last couple of months. So definitely enjoyed your thoughts on all that in the comments below. Definitely wanted to finish out on this, though. So Seattle Surge last night tweeted a graphic for their Major 3 matches on youtube.com/COD League. Now, and this we thought, oh my god, like, here we go again, like, the YouTube returns happening now, like, Seattle Surge have just leaked it, the social media guys getting fired, all this stuff. Now, immediately after this, Connor McCready, the content producer for the Seattle Surge, said, look, it was a typo on the graphic. The guy grabbed an old file from last year, which isn't absolutely, you know, out of the realms of possibility, whether they're just kind of covering this up. But actually, they then released another graphic that said twitch.tv. So they must still believe it's actually on Twitch instead. So I don't know what you guys think about this. The one thing that does maybe sell it to me, that maybe the team owners have talked to the league and been like, hey, if we want to go back to YouTube, let's just not do it yet. And certainly OpTic will, like, not want it to go to YouTube right before their own Major, when they're probably about to smash some viewership records out of the park. So, I mean, I don't know, but it's still a big deal. And the reason why I actually don't think we're going back yet, if we hopefully won't at all, is that here is I'll leave this link down below if you guys want to actually give your thoughts. So COD League emailed around a survey yesterday for people to get involved in and give their thoughts on the league. And one of the sections in this survey, I'd definitely recommend you guys, like, I'll link it down below if you guys want to give your thoughts to the league on things to improve and what you like, what you don't like, this type of stuff. I'll make this somewhat satisfied, actually, so they know there's still some room for improvement. But it actually says here, what's your reason for tuning in? And for me, I mean, obviously I was there in person, but generally doing the watch parties and watching on Twitch is a big deal for me. So they actually allow you to tick that I prefer watching on Twitch. So if they were to put that in their survey that they sent around just a few hours ago, really, but they'd already signed the YouTube deal, it's like, I wouldn't put it past the COD League to do that, but I would say that just this maybe implies that that hasn't been signed yet, and hopefully they're actually looking for some community feedback on this one. So definitely would encourage you guys to get involved and let your opinions be known. But hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.